I'm also a potential threat, but just for this training purpose. Okay, oops. So I said all the users except so and so person, so I don't get to lock myself out. So now, what is the condition? What is the control condition for a high risk user? For all users. So if Microsoft threat detection detects through their signals that, for instance, a user sign in is somewhat irregular, in the sense that the user has been signing in from different, it could even be that the user was using, changing modems and all that, but the detection is coming from different location, or probably the user is even using a different kind of VPN. So Microsoft threat detection sees that as a threat, because it doesn't know if it is really you, or if it is if it's someone that actually used your identity trying to log in to their organization's tenants. Okay, so now the control here says the required action for all my users, if they are detected as high risk users, is that they will be required to change their password. So of course, if you are required to change your password, there's some certain level of trying to verify, and if it is a hacker, he might not even have the email to verify, and all of that. So that will actually change. But some organizations, they actually go to the extent of blocking to remediate this issue of the threat detection, detecting somebody logging in from different location or with different IP addresses around randomly. They will just say, please kindly block this person. Okay, so we'll see more of this in the conditional access, an example of this. So let's go ahead to our demo for the conditional access. So this conditional access, like I said, it just gives condition to how our staff log into our system. Okay, so under conditional access, we have some very useful features that that's actually very, very, like I said, very important to our organization. We have what we call the policies, where we'll be creating our policies. We have insights and reporting. Insights and reporting just gives us the metrics of how of what we are doing and all of that, but we'll see that later. Then diagnose and solve problems. For instance, if our conditional access fails or something went wrong while we're trying to create this conditional access, then we can go ahead to do what? Diagnose and solve problems. Okay, so it's just a wizard that takes us step by step by step by step, but unfortunately we don't have anything to do with this today. Okay, so let's just go forward to named location. This is very important. So what are named locations? Now, named locations are the locations that our organization decides to narrow in. They could be trusted locations, or they could just be a location that we want to block out. All right, so it could be a location that we say, or if our staff is logging in from Nigeria, I have made Nigeria a trusted location. Let them not do their 2MFA thing. Let them just go ahead and log in. Let's just grant them access without any multi-factor or whatsoever, right? Or if our organization is logging in from the US, please, we do not have employees in the US, so we don't even know what our employee is doing in the US. Kindly block. All right, so we're going to have a demo using that functionality, which is to block our employees that are logging in from the US for purpose best known to them. So the first thing we have to do is to actually give a named location. It could be a country, or it could be IP ranges location, in the sense that we might decide to pick maybe Lagos in Nigeria. So we'll look for Lagos IP. We don't want the entire country. We just want a city in the country, right? Or we can just decide to go for the entire country. So I'm going to use US because I actually have a VPN that is, that will take me there, so that it will be easy for us to understand. All right, so I can say, do not, let me just say United States block. And I love United States, one of my best country, my dream country. Amen. Oh. just for light. Okay, so United States of America, or let me just say United States, then block. All right, so let's go ahead to um, look for the country, right? So let's say United. Okay, let's go with United States. So create. Okay, so it has created, sometimes this propagation thing is really an issue in Microsoft. Sometimes it just takes time to propagate, and sometimes it could be my internet as well. Okay, so it's here, United States block. So we want to configure it as part of our conditional access in the sense that a certain employee, let's just give a target now because we don't want to lock ourselves out. A certain employee logging in from the United States will not be able to access our Microsoft 365 tenants. So this is it. Then we go to policies, templates that we can choose from. Okay, so depending on what your organization wants to achieve, we have secure foundations, zero trust, remote work. So depending on what your organization wants to achieve, Microsoft has made it so easy. That's one beautiful thing about Microsoft. They always have these lovely, useful templates for us. So we can decide to say require to protect all our administrators. Let's require multi-factor for all our administrators. And we don't even need to do anything. We'll just click on it and review and create. So let's say all this doesn't really meet what we want to do. So we want to start from the scratch, right? So of course, we don't want to create a template, so let's just close it out. Then let's go to new policy. Okay, so let's just say block US employee. Okay, so that's for the name, right? Then the assignment means who are we assigning? Are we saying everybody in our organization should be actually checked? Or we are saying there's this person that we have been noticing. Is that person that if anytime he logs in from US, block him? Do you get? So we are going to click on our assignments, and it's either we go for all users, which is very dangerous. Microsoft will even tell you here with a caution, don't lock yourself out. So if you're saying all users, always click on exclude to exclude yourself as the administrator or as the global administrator, yourself and some other people. But we don't want to use all. We want to select a particular person or a certain group. So we go ahead and choose that. So let's just look for somebody here. Okay, let's choose this guy called legal and select. So legal is our prime target because he's supposed to be in China, but every time we are suspecting that this guy has been logging in from the US. So the next time he tries logging in from the US, we'll block him. Okay, so let's now go to conditions. Sorry, target resources. So we've seen our assignment, which is legal. So our target resources is trying to position us on what applications we are targeting in this policy. And we want to target all cloud apps. All cloud apps actually happens to be, all cloud, like for instance, Microsoft 365 and any other third-party application that your company is using. Right? So I could say all cloud apps excluding, let's say I just want to exclude the admin portal because the admin portal is very, very important to me. And he's not even a global administrator. The person that we are targeting is not a global administrator. So we go ahead and say we've excluded this admin portal. But anytime this guy tries to go to office, www.office.com, block him as long as it's coming in from the US. Please just block him. All right. So now we go in here and say conditions. So what are the conditions? User risk, sign-in risk, device platform, location. I really would not need all this because I'm just targeting at whenever he logs in from US. Okay, so if I'm looking at user risk, I'll be like, okay, there's this abnormality or random access I've been seeing, or that the detection, Microsoft threat detection has actually been reporting. Probably he's been logging in using different IP address, or a group or certain group I've been logging in and doing all that. Then I can go ahead and configure this user risk just like I did in the identity governance. Yeah, that's the identity protection. Yeah, but it's actually not needed in what we want to do because we just want to block him. Yeah, so we can just go straight up to location. Okay, before we go to this location, let's just see other things. So this is sign-in risk, also checking his sign-in, his authentication. This is checking the user itself. This is checking the authentication. Then the device platforms. For instance, if the user is logging in from what device, so it's always good to leave it at any, so that whether he's on an Android device or an iOS or whatever, he will be blocked, right? But we really don't need that. So let's just go straight up to the location. So we can go ahead to say, I'm sorry, let's just include, oh, sorry. So we can go ahead and choose selected location. You know, that location we chose is not a trusted location, right? So we can make it trusted or not, but for now it's not a trusted location, it's just a location we want to block. So we chose that, right? Let's exclude Nigeria so that it doesn't mistakenly block us. I always do this. I always exclude my location, and I am currently here, so I can go ahead to exclude this. Though it's really not important because you are just selecting United States here, but then I always take precautions like going ahead of Microsoft and choosing Nigeria just in case. All right, so that's for the conditions. Okay, so now access controls. Are we going to block? Are we going to block or are we going to grant? So we want to, some organizations, they go ahead to do what? They go ahead to grant, but even if they are granting, right, they would require multi-factor authentication, or they will require authentication strength. I'll talk about this authentication strength in a bit if we still have time. So this is what some organizations usually do. They can say grant, yeah, or if it is a 000, like we don't want this guy to log in any way. We don't even want him to change his password or use 2MFA to log in. We just want to block him. We don't want him to. So we can go ahead and click on block and select. So when we do that, it gives us this option, reports only on or turn off. If we choose report only, it's not really going to, work. Like, the policy is not going to be applied to that user. It's only going to be reporting back to us that this user has been logging in from UK. He's supposed to be, from the US. He's supposed to be in the in China. Do you get? It will only just be giving us that report, but it's not going to block him. It's not going to do anything. It's just for our own view or for our own knowledge. But that's not what we want. We want to block this guy. We don't want him to be here. So let me go to specific user. Let me just get his name. Ligu. Okay. So we have turned it on. Then we can go ahead and create. Now, sometimes if anybody is following up with what I'm doing and you're just doing this for the first time, it's going to tell you to turn off, your security defaults, because you can't have security defaults enabled and have conditional access. So it's either you have conditional access or security defaults, right? So if you're seeing that prompt, just go ahead and turn off security defaults and click create conditional access, and it's going to create. All right. So block US employee. So let's try and see that guy now. Let me look for him and change his password so I can log into him. Lee. Okay, so let's just do this. Let's copy his username and password. So I actually have my VPN turned on here, and the VPN is actually located in the US just for this demonstration. Okay, so now this guy is not a target. Let's use somebody that's not, okay, let's just use him first. Then we can use someone who is not a target, and you see that that person would log in. So this is our password. Okay, so you can see straight up, because of the conditional access policy, it just told Lee that, see, you cannot access this right now. Your sign-in was successful, but does not meet the criteria to access this resource. For example, you might be signing in from a browser app or location that is restricted by your admin. And yes, I restricted him from logging in from the US. But let's say the go is in where he's supposed to be, in Nigeria. Office. Okay, let me use in private. Office.com. So you see, Nigu was able to log in because he was in where his organization asked him to be. Organization says stay at your country and work from there, right? But sometimes this guy travels to the US and he tries to log in. Now, I know some of us that are very techy will say, okay, what if I use VPN? Anyways, yes, VPN can bypass, but there is actually a security measure that you can, configure on M365 that would actually detect that. All right, so we have to be very careful. If organization has restricted us, let us abide by the rules. So I would want to round off now. Let me go back to our. So I would want to round off by, telling us that Entra or Microsoft Entra Admin Center, or even Microsoft Entra as a product from Microsoft, is one of the best thing that has happened to millions of organizations out there in the world, because Microsoft has taken time to do their due diligence in security and identity management, ensuring that organizations are properly, their identity are properly managed and secured. There's a lot that this can do, but just because of it's a training, I decided to highlight the most important things that we'll definitely see in a real life scenario, right? That could actually, happen in our organization. Unfortunately, we couldn't do the device management. But I believe that with this conditional access policy, you've seen the groups, the dynamic user groups, and everything, you'll be able to understand why companies would rather go for a managed service, which is an identity provider, than build their own identity, resource or the identity management system themselves, based on the drawbacks that I have actually, discussed with us here. So at this junction, I would like to take questions while I check on my dynamic security group.
Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
So, do we have any questions for Jennifer so far? I know Ibrahim dropped one in the chat. He asked, what is the difference between external user and guest user? I don't know if you've answered that already.
Okay, I can take that. Thank you so very much, Rookie. All right, so before I answer that question, I just wanted to draw us back to the dynamic group. So definitely it was a propagation issue. We can see that our two users that are actually living in San Diego and our sales executive have automatically been assigned into that group. So that's how you reduce administrative efforts by creating dynamic user groups within your organization Entra environment. Okay, so regarding external and guest users, there is actually no difference. When you say external, external is something that is outside. When you say guests, guest is something that is not within your environment, that is actually external to your foreign to your environment, right? So external user and guest user, they are all in one. They are just used interchangeably. When you want to create a guest user, you click on invite user, right? And the context there would show you that this is to invite users that are external to your organization. So there is actually no difference between an external user and a guest user. They are just the same thing. Thank you. So do we have any other questions?
Thank you for the explanation. Do you have any other question? Because I think you've actually butchered
Yeah.
Azure.
All right. Can I say something?
Yeah, sure, sir. You can go ahead.
Okay. Um, Basically, just to add more to what Jennifer talked about, uh, an external user and a guest user. Let's get this correctly, guys. They, there's a difference between external user and guest user when it comes to external user and guest user using a Teams chat or Teams app. When it comes to the assignment, there's slight difference, but when it comes to the creation, there's no difference. So, like Jennifer talked about, she's not talking deep into the single sign-on and all other intricacies about it. Well, I guess that's to the benefit of dynamic content, so they can take you as a student on the private classes, so you can get more information about that. But you can actually get to see that an external access is different from a guest access, because the external access, it allows all users to find, call, and chat with people who have Microsoft identities, including those from other organizations. While the guest access, it allows you to invite people from outside the organization to join a team. So now, I wouldn't talk more in details about it, but I would say just hit us up and we get to give you more interest about this. So, and from what I heard from Jennifer, I would say, Jennifer, I think we would need you again on the single sign-on. I don't know if I'm the only person needing her, but I think I do need you. Every one of us do need you. So please, if you also need her to come back for the second time, you can actually just unmute your mic and say it so that I don't think this trainer is someone we can let go so easily.
Yeah, we need that for the single sign-on.
I
Okay, thank you
definitely
so.
agree with you.
Definitely agree. We need us to come again and train it one more time.
Okay, thank you so very much. Thank you so very much for dissecting within that context. I wasn't looking at it from that context. I was just looking at it based on the training we had. You know, when you say
Yeah,
add a
yeah, that's
guest
what
user
I
and
said.
all that.
Yeah, from
Yes.
your
So
angle,
thank you.
from the
Yeah,
admin is the same.
exactly.
That's why I
Exactly.
said we are going to get more like we just give them the tips of the iceberg. So if they want to get the full iceberg, let them come in and run into the
The
private. So
dynamics training.
that's
Exactly.
the points now,
Exactly.
right? That's
Yes. Yeah.
all right.
Thank you so very much. So you've seen from the angle that he's talking about. So if that is the context that you were actually talking about, there is a difference between them. Okay. So but within, inviting users and all that, guests, they are just used interchangeably, right? But thank you so very much for highlighting that. A lot of people have, understood the differences between the guest and external users. Okay, thank you so very much for your time.